In the ground where no air has ever set foot, the group of workers discovered a strange egg. When it breaks, a terrible secret is unleashed menacing. It's not just their lives, but also the future of humanity. Will they survive this nightmare? Let's review for 3 minutes. Discover the movie now. Start the movie. While digging deep to build the subway GA, a surprise group of workers discovered a strange cave. It smells bad. Out of curiosity, they decided to go inside and investigate. But the scene in front of me was mind-boggling. Massive piles of trash piled up in piles cover the whole area, absorbed in observing. No one knows. A giant spider is quietly stalking behind, along with a mysterious tentacle slowly following them. Deep inside the cave, they discovered a giant sphere. It looks like a weird egg. Instead of being afraid, they think it's a precious jewel. Suddenly, strange sounds startled the group. But it turns out it's just their boss. He came to check, because the work was delayed for too long. I saw a strange egg in front of me. The boss ordered it to be sold for money. At the same time, Kai Young accidentally stepped on a strange mucus and get lost in the group. His flashlight suddenly flashed constantly. He's struggling to fix it, without even knowing that the light is waking something up. A giant creature rising out of the rubbish heap. She screamed in horror when she saw it. He hurried back to the group, but they also heard strange noises around them. Surprise! A giant tentacle reached out and grabbed a worker. The whole group panicked and ran away, when other tentacles are constantly emerging from the trash. The monster started hunting. One by one, people are pulled away in despair. The tentacles keep grabbing as many workers as possible. Cry roar cry. I saw my brother being dragged away. The rest of us had to pull him away. The workers rushed out of the cave, right before a giant tentacle crashed down on the trash, causing the entire entrance to collapse. The cave was completely buried under the trash, near the construction site. Two father-son, Hacker and Seal, hitting up spikes on the road to avoid damaging their trap tires. They didn't know they were going to have a nightmare. Suddenly, a flock of panicked birds soared into the sky. Right after that, a speeding truck arrives at an astonishing speed. The truck drove up the site in a panic. Hacker and CLG rush aside, causing the car to run over nails on the road. Punctured tires. The car shook violently, dropping some boxes to the ground. The truck kept going. Without even knowing, Hacker curiously opened one of the dropped containers and discovered a strange egg from the cave. I think it can be sold at a good price. He quickly shoved it into his car on the way home. Sadie curiously pressed her ear to the eggshell and startled when you hear the sound of something moving inside. But Hacker just laughed, thinking the boy was imagining. When we get back to the scrapyard, Hacker frowned when he saw a luxury car that's parked right in my house. Immediately, his mood plummeted. Hacker took off her wedding ring before. I walked in and found the woman inside. That's my ex-wife Lena. Lena is not satisfied. When I saw my son living in an environment full of waste like this, things got worse when her new Fiat Iran appeared, and a bunch of expensive toys for Seiji, something that Hacker could never buy. Lena announced that she will move to another province and bring Theo. I want my son to have a better future. Lena is cold that the CEO could inherit his company, and he shouldn't have grown up in a landfill like his father. These words make Hacker angry. He punched Miran in the face. The fight immediately exploded. Two men crashed into each other, completely ignored Lena's words. They even bite each other like wild animals. Lena was helpless to scream, but no AI would stop her. It wasn't until Lena angrily dragged the CIOG away. Liran just stopped. He adjusted his shirt. Give Hacker a look of contempt. Then follow. Their mother and son are left alone. Hacker just stood there, long full of anger and helplessness. Hacker took care of his son. Just watched VI, a reporter, trying to cover the disappearance of the workers at the construction site, but the signal is constantly interrupted outside. Their dog is constantly going around the truck with anxiety. It turns out that the strange egg is starting to hatch. This is causing all the animals around to panic. The dog barked furiously, make Hacker think there's a stranger breaking in. He took a flashlight and went out to check. Hacker saw the truck shaking. It's a strange mucus coming down. He glanced through the glass door, and I stand to see a tentacle. Panic, Hacker immediately ran into the house to tell her son. But when you run out with me, the truck is completely gone. Suddenly, something fell to the ground. They looked up and realized in shock. The truck is being lifted by a series of tentacles. The strange creature discovered them, and immediately get back in the car. The car fell down to the ground and splattered dust. Before they could fix it, the tentacles rushed out again to attack my father. They panicked and ran into the house. Hacker is so scared. Almost. Leave your father outside when you close the door. At that moment, they heard a car approaching. They both panicked when they realized it was Lena. "Come back with me."
I saw father immediately come.
But at that moment, a tentacle reached out and grabbed the boy. Lena panicked, holding hands up.
Try to pull you out, but the monster was too strong to let go. Fortunately,
Hacker Lau came with a knife and cut the prison shovel.
CRG is released. The whole family quickly joined forces to fuel up.
The tentacles are creeping in
and threw the lighter that set the monster on fire. The monster howled in pain as it slowly died. Meanwhile, the hacker realized that he had lost the opportunity to make money.
Group of people entering the house.
Hackers wonder why the monster came here.
The CEO replied that it came out of the air. Loring showed up with the bodyguard
and see that everyone is fine.
Loring was angry at Lena for calling
to interrupt his business meeting. Just for one thing.
Suddenly, the whole house started to shake, flashing electric light,
and a giant monster appeared right outside the yard. Immediately, the house began to collapse because of the shovels.
They're squeezing the whole building.
The roof collapsed. And the last man. I also saw the scary face of the monster. He wants to go home with them. It starts to break the window.
It makes everyone panic. Loren immediately ran away, not caring about Lena.
He threw you back.
Panic guards followed by a refusal to die.
The monster roared and started throwing these people out. It's throwing trash cans in the sky and throwing them away like trash. He looked at one of them carefully
before throwing him away, and he turns around and looks at his family trying to escape.
However, John fell and the father stopped helping him. Take advantage of the opportunity. The monster kidnapped Chiyogi
and pushed both parents away.
After the CLG, the monster fell to the ground and disappeared with the child. The king and Lena ran to look at the hole created by the monster.
"I don't know why the hole is closed."
Lena stood still in shock. Meanwhile,
desperate hackers start digging soil with their bare hands. "I don't know why the hole is closed."
Lena stood there stunned. Meanwhile, hackers desperately tried to dig soil with their bare hands.
He finally gave up and tried to comfort Lena.
But Lena slapped him and pushed him out.
When she started to collapse on the VIs,
they kept talking about the possibility of a monster.
Still free,
Lena turned off the VI in anger. Just a few minutes later,
their sadness is interrupted.
The appearance of the professor,
marine biology, liaison and assistant Ellie.
They tracked the monster with a special device.
After a series of interesting questions,
the professor reveals that he is Yoon-hee's old friend. Lao Ji then looked closely at the tentacles and explained that
they killed the children of the cave creatures when it comes to get its egg back.
The monster smells Zizi.
I thought it was his child.
This means that the boy may still be alive. Meanwhile, Suzy wakes up in a rubbish den. In time,
pushing a giant spider about to fall on his face. You call your parents' names.
A strange group of insects flying near his head.
Then the monster appeared.
The CEO stepped back full of fear. The monster opened his outer shell
to reveal a smile. He licked the boy to calm him down.
But because CEOs are still scared and hate being licked, the monster roared in hope.
Suddenly, they heard a music and looked around.
They were bewildered until they realized that the music came from the monster's stomach. Right then,
they hear music and look around confused.
The monster began to scream in pain and fell down, and the CEO stood looking confused.
I don't understand what's going on. Then the monster fled behind the rubbish.
They tried to pull out the buying machine, but it didn't work. The CEO took the opportunity to escape.
But you can't find a way out.
There's a radio in the trash. CZ also tried to turn it on, but it didn't work. To hear the monster screaming in pain, CZ feel poor.
You decided to help.
Some rope
coming out of the monster's mouth.
CZ starts pulling.
Finally, you also pulled the machine out of the monster's body.
The monster felt better immediately.
He hugged CG to thank him for saving his life. Then he dropped you off and slept on the trash.
In the scrapyard,
Lauria told her family they should give up, looking for some me but
Zen used to remind the professor that he owed him a favor.
Because after suing the factory where he worked, Lauria caused Zenta to lose his job. For feeling guilty,
Lauria took his family to his lab,
where he kept these bizarre statues of all the creatures he studied. He thought that the only way to save Xiaoji was to
let the monster sleep with tranquilizers. The drug is powerful enough to make the animal bigger.
The elephant is asleep. Laoji also revealed that
he developed a chemical.
They can kill the monster. Laoji also revealed that
he developed a chemical.
They can kill the monster. But it should only be used
if the monster is really evil.
So that's the last resort in the meantime.
Page. constantly thinking about all the friends you've lost and start planning revenge. In the cave,
Seiji looks at the monster eating trash,
and try to find better food.
but there's nothing to eat around. When the monster tried to share the trash with the boy,
Seiji realized it eats trash because it's the only thing. Notice the monster laughing while eating. Seiji started throwing trash in her mouth to feed her.
it's become their little game.
The monster is not evil. Seiji started playing with it. Seiji pretends to be a superhero.
Defeat a powerful enemy.
The monster even fell under the attack.
The imagination of Seiji. They both had fun after a while. Soon Seiji was sleeping on the monster's stomach. When you were awakened by a strange sound, he went to investigate and was suddenly kidnapped by a stranger.
It's a construction worker.
He wanted to kill the monster and save the boy. When Chiyogi told him to stop, because monsters don't eat people,
The man thinks you're paranoid.
he said that.
All my colleagues are dead.
Then, he tried to approach the monster by stealthily. Be careful to avoid all tentacles.
But the monster felt it and woke up. Start chasing him. Worker grabs CLG,
And run away in a panic.
but in desperation, he accidentally dropped the LGC in a pool of sewage. The monster is approaching so.
Man continues to run without helping LGC.
CRG is slowly sinking into the water while the worker is cornered by the monster. A giant spider began to move towards him. From behind, the monster can see and pull furiously. The spider had to run in. The worker fainted.
Then the monster shovels. It's easy to get Chiyogi.
At the last moment, the monster pulled the Chiyogi out of the water. He gently put the boy on the ground and tried to wake you up, but Chiyogi did not react, and the monster started crying. In the moment,
Now Ria is preparing to leave, with his parents looking for the monster.
while waiting in Hart's car, Lena discovered a strange drug.
And a piece of paper with a Hus wedding ring. The piece of paper reveals that Hus has a chronic disease. Linda started crying as Hart got into the car.
Lena asked Adeseo,
He never told you about his illness.
and you wonder, is that why he divorced you? He has told you not to imagine. He just wants to focus on making time.
With his son, the conversation was interrupted by. Two of them said it was time to leave.
When the family goes to the tunnel, they were surprised to see a group of workers, led by Kaiwan.
They're using dynamite to reopen the cave. They told the family to leave, because they're going to release some kind of poison to kill the monster.
So the king begged them to stop.
Because Seiji is still alive, and the poison would kill him. A controversy broke out.
Kaiyon pointed out that they can't let the monster live anymore, or it's going to hit the whole town soon. The king began to scold him.
Because of his plan.
They can also kill the survivors, and Capacity 2 take advantage of this distraction to sabotage workers' gasoline machines. He rushed through the men. The family finally got into the cave.
As they wander among piles of trash, Ali uses his equipment, and the whole team tracks the signal from it. Has found Seok's keychain on the ground, and gets some hope back. Finally, they found the monster next to her body, and they think the worst has happened. Parents want to rush to their son, but none to stop them you. I pointed out that they can't fight the giant monster,
The monster can hear them.
but it's ignoring them for now. Tuberculosis shot anesthetic injection.
But the monster easily flung the shot away with my tentacles. Now angry, the monster roared and put on the mask again.
Ash shoots a second shot,
And Lena threw a bottle of the compound.
directly to the monster. At first, it seemed that the monster was unaffected. It takes a while to put the LGC in a safe position before approaching the group. Ready to start a fight though. The anesthetic shot finally worked.
The monster fell and passed out.
Parents immediately climbed the rubbish heap to come to my son,
They heard from him to confirm that he was still alive.
while now Ria takes a blood sample from a tentacle. While Eddie recorded the process,
It's amazing.
the anesthetic injection did not work as expected.
The monster woke up in a bad mood. It reached out its tentacles to save Seiji from the hands of humans, but its tentacles were shot by an arrow from a group of workers. Stop the public.
People surround the monster to try to kill it.
The more angry, the monster began to attack. It knocked down some men who wouldn't give up. The rest of us quickly protested.
By throwing a bunch of hooks to hold the monster back. A worker takes out a flamethrower and started burning the monster's body, like a monster's tentacles dragging him down.
At the same time, some workers found Laurier's back.
Contains poison and stole Ria, and Ellie tried to stop them. But they only had time to fight for a while, before Chiron takes the vial of poison.
He threw poison in the monster's face. The monster was badly injured, but not dead.
Immediately, a person tries to prepare explosives. Chen to plunge into him to stop him.
Kaiyong,
Shoot a giant arrow into the monster's chest.
to hasten its death.
At that time, Chiyogi woke up, and it's very painful to see the workers throwing more chemicals at the monster.
So the boy screamed for them to stop.
When he cried, the monster realized he was alive, and its power is infused with the desire to protect.
Your god can now fight.
Throw all the workers in the trash. Finally, the man pushed the gene up
And pop the dynamite before throwing it away.
cause a small explosion that makes the piles of trash shake and make Chiyogi fall.
The injured monster reached out and caught the boy. The family was surprised.
At this moment, a pile of rubbish is about to fall on Chiyogi, so the monster rushed in. It's a shield to protect you. Because it was very weak after the attacks. Pile of trash, it makes the injury worse.
When Chiyogi begged his parents to save his friend, the workers surround the monster.
And keep attacking it. They ignore the side who's crying for help.
When piercing the monster's stomach, the monster tried to reach out again.
To reach out to the boy. At that moment, Young delivered a powerful blow, finally killing the monster. Then Young pulled out his spear and found the monster's body full of trash. But there's no body. Suddenly, a group of survivors from the hideout
And explain, it's the giant spiders that kill humans. And the big monster just protects them from them.
every time it attacks. It's just to defend itself.
The workers threw their weapons on the ground
Kim looked at the monster.
and realized that he is the real monster. Sometime later, Hatch's house is much improved, thanks to the money you earn from interviews.
About my little adventure.
I always tell reporters that the monster protected your son.
But they never believed you because they believed you.
Monsters are always evil. Hatra point out all the damage
That humans do to the planet.
and wonder who's the real monster.
Lena broke up with her fiancé and offered to see father marry her again.
Dad happily agreed and threw away the medicine while hugging her.